February 3rd, 2026. Well, our ongoing government shutdown, or as they call it, partial shutdown, most of the government shutdown is ongoing as of this recording. And probably by the time most of you people see it, or a lot of them, maybe the bill will get passed through the House. Although presently, I think it's kind of hung up on a lot of issues because you don't even have, well, the Republicans now are down to a three-vote total majority of 218 to 215 with the swearing in of the guy that was elected in Texas in a special election. That was in an all-Democrat district. It has nothing to do with the Senate 9 state race that you might have heard about. But at any rate, and so if you have two Republicans defect, they can't get anything through. And of course, we have Massey, who almost always votes against the Republican position. We'll see what he does on this one. Maybe instead of attacking him, we better start sweet talking him, huh? And no, I don't like the guy, but that's another issue. And then of course, Luna, who's generally good, has got off on this big thing about passing the SAVE Act, requiring a voter ID to vote nationwide. I'm all for it, but how does that get through the Senate if we can't get the House bill that we passed, last week through the Senate and had to go with this insane compromise, which I condemned in my last video. I mean, I don't see how you're going to get a SAVE Act through. The Democrats aren't going to go for it, and so all that's going to do is prolong the shutdown, which the only reason why you're even dealing with a compromise is trying to get the shutdown over with. However, the problem with the compromise, it gives the Democrats leverage, because that means that they can have most of the government functioning and have only Homeland Security unfunded, which gives them leverage because they probably don't care about Homeland Security, since at this time they don't perceive any great terrorist threat, and on the other hand, that's more about border patrol and border protection, ICE, and all that stuff. But there's a lot else in the Coast Guard, and of course that's involved a lot with what's going on down in the Caribbean with Venezuela and tracing down these rogue tankers, and and many other things. So. And then, of course, a lot of this stuff, there is the appropriation that was put in the big, beautiful bill. So I don't know, money may be reallocated and could keep it open for a while anyhow. So, anyway, so that's kind of the situation. And I guess we'll see whether by the end of the third here that they finally get it passed or not. I understand all the Democrats are saying they're going to vote against it, which I find is completely insane. I mean, first of all, ICE is not defunded whether they pass it or not. Second of all, it's only over a shooting that's currently under FBI investigation outside of Homeland Security now. So, I mean, we don't know what the FBI is going to come up with on this once they look at the body cameras and stuff. And there was one in this one, and and they still can shut the whole Homeland Security down after midnight on the 13th if they did pass the thing. And then I mean they've gotten what they need, and they're still acting up like a bunch of yo-yos. So. I don't know how that's going to, pan out here. And even if it does, I think the whole thing is really, really reprehensible. I mean, personally, I'd have preferred just not making a compromise and just held our ground on the original House bill and just demanded the Senate pass it and let it shut down and wage a major campaign until all the bad things are doing because of the shutdown. I don't feel that we lost the last shutdown, really. And so, at any rate, that's my view, anyhow. If you like these videos, please give me a like. If you haven't subscribed, please do. And you can click the bell for notifications. Or you can follow me on Rumble and subscribe to me there. Yeah, so that's kind of where I'm at on this subject. I mean, we'll just have to see how this all pans out. And then other things are happening. We got to have all these protests over the weekend, and, L.A. and, riots breaking out, and thugs patrolling the streets in Minneapolis, tracing down even Somali-driven Ubers to see if they're ICE. I mean, this is getting kind of really crazy, and I think that I really think we made a mistake some time back not using the Insurrection Act and putting enough federal troops in there to provide security for ICE, and then maybe these two insane shootings wouldn't have even happened. You know, I mean, so that's because, in my opinion, it's all the agitators and insurrectionists that actually caused the shooting as much as anything, and probably confusing the ICE operations to the point that mistakes are being made, which, of course, they want to capitalize on. So anyhow, so it goes. Meanwhile, on the Iranian front, well, no attack has occurred yet, and I'm still sticking with my position. I really doubt there's going to be one. I understand that there's going to be maybe some meetings with representative from Trump and some Iranians at some point to see what they can work out. The Iranians are holding pats on that one. And I really think the opportunity for this whole plan that was originally concocted to work has already passed. The rebellion has been put down, and I don't know that you can save the remaining people that are being arrested. The 800 that are going to be hung. Can you really save their lives by attacking Iran at this point? I mean, so we'll see where that goes. Or would an air attack with the resources that are in theater right now actually bring down the regime anyhow? And you might kill certain specific leaders, but other people would take their place, and I don't think the country as a whole would be receptive to it. I mean, it isn't like necessarily the majority of people are for the rebellion that occurred anyhow. It just means that there's a faction that did, just like we have the ICE protesters here. I don't think that means the majority of people are on their side or anything. So at any rate, that's that one. Meanwhile, I think is it on Wednesday and Thursday, I believe it is. I think those are the right days. Coming up, there's going to be meetings in the Middle East also between the representatives of the Russian Federation and Ukraine over trying to develop a peace plan still, and we'll see how that one goes. As I understand, the Russian one-week stand down on attacking energy targets around the cities is about to pass, and we're expecting perhaps there'll be a resumption of Russian aerial bombardment with drones and missiles in those areas. In the meantime, during that stand down period, Russia focused on attacking field logistics of the Ukrainian army primarily, including a major train station that was being used to provide support and so forth. So that kind of thing is going on, and I presume that a full-scale air war will resume. On the other hand, apparently there's been a little intervention. Apparently somehow the Russians have got a hold of Starlink receivers and have put them on their drones. Apparently up to now, the Starlink has been used to guide these drones into Russian targets. Well, now apparently it turns out that the Russians have got in on the act and got some somehow, maybe through I don't know, the Chinese or some surrogate, I assume, and have been using them to attack targets in Ukraine. And so to end the thing, to figure it out, that they made a decision that drones flying beyond a certain speed, which would make them slower and more vulnerable to anti-aircraft, will not be allowed to operate Starlink systems over Ukraine, which would shut down both their defensive drones to a degree and also the offensive ones from the Russian side. So apparently that is how that it worked out. And so at any rate, that's kind of the story for now. We can hope we get the government reopened. And I personally think that if they reject this compromise, we ought to just go back and say, okay, the House has already passed the original bill. Senate, get off your rear and pass it. And just launch a full-scale political campaign against the Democrats holding it up over this. We'll promise a legitimate investigation by the FBI into the shooting of that Preddy guy who's a real jerk, but don't say real jerk to him, and see what happens. So as always, I'll be posting this on YouTube and Rumble, and the addresses of my social media accounts are in the description below. And I've been making a few comments, particularly on X, about back to some of these Democrats. So all for now.